Hey guys, welcome to the shop. Today we are going to work on the recoil of a McCulloch ProMac 1010. Before we get going, what I'd like to do is I'd like to encourage you to take a look at some of my other videos. If some of that stuff interests you, I would love to have you join me as a subscriber. So we're going to go in and I'm going to try to put you in a location where we can kind of see this together, yet I need to be able to work on it. So let me get you in a close location, and we need to, I've never pulled one of these. So this is part. Never thought that I would become such a old chainsaw fan, but this old ProMac, I watch Buck and Billy Ray, and he's got a fine collection of these, and never thought that I would enjoy it quite as much, but it's like holding a dirt bike, and it is really a impressive cutting saw. I would say it's still pretty fuel efficient, and honestly I don't know what screws I'm pulling out right now, but I better make sure that I keep them on hand. So like I said, I'm not really quite sure what all screws I need to pull off. You know, you don't want to pull off the wrong thing, and then, you know, it's kind of hard to come back after you pull apart the wrong screw or remove the wrong widget or what have you. That looks like that. And so we've been out cutting firewood for the future. We're not sure. It won't be for this year. Might not even be for next year, but it'll be for years to come. Wouldn't it be something if it's just these? Wouldn't it be something if it was just these three screws? And I think it is those three screws. So hey, that's okay. Give you kind of a close-up look at coil. Looks like these are your catches on your pull start. You know, it's probably okay that I open that up because some of that gunk needs to be cleaned out. So let's, before I go too far, I guess we are going to take the opportunity before we close this back in to, you can see these cooling fins are awfully clogged. And we'll scrape out all that gunk, because I'm sure that sawdust has been in there for 30 years. So no worry. Make sure you are seeing what I'm seeing. I can't stress this enough. You know, if anybody's going to stick around, this isn't a whole lot of entertainment. It's just hopefully I will make the mistake so you don't have to. I can't stress it enough, and you know, I would like to consider myself a fairly decent shop teacher. And look at that, you can see if it focuses. Oh, let's focus. Someone has taken this apart once before. And so what I was saying is one of the stresses that I have for my beginning students, one of the stresses that I have for my students, I have the same thing for my children, is right size tool. You know, you can go in there with any kind of screwdriver, but having a good fitting screwdriver is going to, you know, you can, whew, just too close. There you go. Had to tap on the screen, but you could see that the head of that screw is pretty, it was the wrong size screwdriver. So using the right size screwdriver makes this job a whole lot easier. Now I know that most of the world is not going to be playing with a 30-some-year-old chainsaw, but I saw one of these on the Craigslist the other day for, I think it was like 85 bucks. Now I don't have an extra 85 bucks to be spending on chainsaws, but it was interesting nonetheless. So it looks to me like that is my spring. I'll try to take you inside here, and what you can see is the rope's got that sheave, that pulley that has a spot where the rope goes through that little hole, and then it would have wrapped around, and then it goes through another clip, and then it's got a pin that kind of it catches. And so I think that there's no tension right now on the spring. So I'm thinking that I can remove this. I've got an 8mm. I'm not sure if this is a right-hand thread, left-hand thread. All right, it is a left-hand thread. 8mm, doesn't seem to be, wasn't tight, overly tight rather. Sometimes on pole starts and flywheels, you gotta make sure that it is the correct thread. Super careful when you're prying on this stuff, because and I could see that I'm attached to a spring. And what I do not want to do is I do not want to lose that spring. I lose that spring and that spring is attached there. So there it is. I know that that spring will zoom you in again. There's a little catch right there, and if I line that up right with, let me focus in on that, right with that ball, that spring, that will catch. This slides through the center of the shaft, and then that's got a flat on it that will attach like so. Okay, so I had to pause this for a while so that we could look inside here. And inside here, Boy, I'm having a hard time. I wish I had a third arm, you know. See that little pin. So that little pin is just... I took this apart because I thought that that was some kind of pin that went all the way through, and it just kind of locks in. So somehow I got to fish that out. So I end up getting this string out. I'm going to do my very best at holding this light, and what you can see is that there is a small divot machined area where this string goes through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my string, I'm going to singe it, I'm going to slide everything through, and then I'm going to install this little pin and pull her back in. So to cut this, I'm just going to, you know, probably someone would say, hey, you should go buy a new pull string, but I'm at home and I honestly do not have the time because I have to get my firewood cut. And I think that a lot of you guys understand that. The struggle is pretty real here, but what I figured out is if I take a small enough screwdriver, I can get in between this drive pulley or the starting pulley, and I can kind of aid it along. And then we're going to take it to the second opening, and now we're through the second opening. There we are. So now we're through one, we're through two. Now we have to figure out how to install. Ooh. So this little pin is pretty blunt, and there's no way that I'm going to get that through that string. So I've got a small nail here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a small opening. So, a little pathetic looking. Pull this a little closer. We got that through. And so now need to pull that little pin nice and snug. Then start to wrap up my rope. I think that as you are completing this task, it's worthwhile noting that you don't forget to feed it through this housing, or you get to do everything again off screen, and that comes with a little bit of frustration, but what are you going to do? You just got to get things done, right? Right. So, wind that up a little bit. Got to work this thing back into the spring. Slide the drive. Yoke, if you will. back in. Seems to have a little tension. Oh, now, I can't make this stuff up here, guys. I don't know what to do during the quiet time. Maybe I'll put the whole thing to music or something. But if nothing else, I often use these as my own resource. Now, it wasn't too tight when I started, so I'm not going to tighten it too much. Use these as my own resources because I plan on using this saw for a long time. Now, I know that this housing, oh, looks to me like I forgot another piece. We will hopefully be able to fish that through. Oh yeah, that's a winner right there. So let's look at the saw and really how things are supposed to look. So that's going to come in there, so that should be at that angle there. That's good to know. You know, and personally, if I had to, I could always go back into the memory of the video. So we need to tighten this spring. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I am just going to wind that around, kind of preload the spring, if you will. I don't know if I want to do too much. Seems to be returning it. Got a hold of this saw from a coworker, and he said he was done using it, and it sat there for 5 years, and I thought, oh, who wants an old saw? And then one year I said, you know what, let's put some fuel in it, see if it runs, and the thing fired up. Needed the carb cleaned, but fired right up. And I put a new chain on it, and somebody went to a video where I put the new chain on. They said, hey, have you ever heard of Buck and Billy Ray? Oh, no. Who the heck is Buck and Billy Ray? And you go on there, and there's just a wealth of information on these old saws. And I don't know. I love my steel, but I don't know how... I don't know how they did it so well for so many years, because just a fine saw. That's pretty good. So a little on the sloppy side there. I think that might be worth me pulling these screws off and giving that thing another twirl. Alright, so I did my homework. So that thing is good. Everything's turning. So I'm going to spend a few minutes right now before I close this back up and just kind of clean out the inside of this. And I am going to clean out my cooling fins and a little bit of this interior housing. And we'll finish up this assembly in just a moment. All right, so finishing up here. Compressed air is a beautiful thing. Really can get in there and get things cleaned up where, let's face it, a screwdriver just can only reach so far. So as you can clearly see that I've never done this before, and so this is definitely not a how-to in 5 easy steps. No, this is you watch somebody else struggle so that it's a breeze. That I can tell you is these old aluminum castings, they've got plenty of strength the last few decades, but you don't expect them to bend at all. If you pry on them, they're going to break. It's beauty of aluminum. It's pretty lightweight, but it's just gonna break. So I've been driving these screws in, talking, and I realized that the only thing that the screen saw was the bottom of the chainsaw. So takes a little bit of effort to get the driving yoke to spread apart your spring-loaded arms. All right, there we go. I guess we should see if we can't find some instant success, right? See if it'll behave itself now, huh? So hey, that's fixing a pull start on a Pro Mac 1010. That's it. Long video. I don't know what we'll edit. I hope this is helpful. I hope that wasn't too bad a job. It's worth doing. It's not worth putting the chainsaw on the shelf. Chainsaws around here get used. So, hope this is helpful. Bye.